What's up, everyone? This is Double M Live with your host, Mike and Marv, bringing to you the Patriots post game show. We couldn't wait to bring this show back and get it rocking and rolling once again. It's been a while, but we are back. If you were watching us before, we had a little technical difficulty, but hopefully we should be good to go and we should be popping right now. Joining us on YouTube, on Facebook, wherever you're at, make sure to like, share, subscribe to everything we got going on. And please join the comments. Join the comments for sure. We want to hear from you. So make sure you're tuned in with us. But yeah, like I said, it's the post game show, Patriots post game show, and we are back.
We're back, baby. We are back, man. It feels good to talk some Patriots on if you're in New England, a dreary Sunday, but that's kind of what this was, a dreary game if you are a Patriots fan. Patriots fall to the Las Vegas Raiders 20-13 at Gillette Stadium. Rough way to start off your season, start off 0-1, all the changes that were made with this New England team. So this is where we are. This is where we stand. I want to make a disclaimer here. Listen, you are a Pats homer. You love your Patriots, and you want to hear, all the fluff and all the positivity about your team. This isn't the place to be. I'm not going to sugarcoat anything about this team and how I feel about it. We'll get there. We'll get there down the road. But yeah, if this is where you came to feel good inside after a whooping that you just got, this ain't the place to be. This is where we're going to keep it real and we're going to keep it funky.
Yeah, Marv's not going to hold back. He's going to keep it real. I'm going to keep it real. And one thing that I think he's kind of stated in our different conversations, but one thing he's going to definitely make sure to reiterate several times on the show. But I want to ask you, Marv, what's your thoughts on this team this year?
I think this team's gonna suck. I think this team's gonna suck. And I'll tell you different reasons why while we talk about it. But yeah, after all the moves we made, and I saw the excitement on everyone, and I hated to be that guy like, yeah, this is good. Like the meme we always share, Mike, with Jadakiss. It's good, but it's not enough. There's so many holes on this team that was exploited here. There's one hole, though, on this team that I don't want to call it a hole, but there's one thing on this team that's really got my concern. And here's the teaser. It's the quarterback play.
Second year. Drake May's in his second year, and we know that. But I think the hype is there for the Patriots. The hype is there for this team. A lot of turnaround. They fired their coach last year, first year ever coaching for Gerard Mayo. After one season, they fired him. They brought in Mike Vrabel to take things over. And, bringing in Vrabel, bringing a new coaching staff, Dre in his second year getting the full keys to the ship. You have some acquisitions, especially on offense, with Stephon Diggs. You draft a great running back in Trevion Henderson. On the defensive side, you make a couple changes. You bring in some guys on the line. You bring in another pretty solid quarterback. A lot of things that the Patriots did to try to, add some spark to the team. Was that taking this team to championship? No, not yet. We're gonna pump the brakes on those conversations. But at the same time, the hype is there going into the season. New era, new regime, and you want to see what this team is gonna do. But with that being said, it's gonna take time. And I'll be honest, I'll admit it. Going into this week one matchup against the Raiders, and I thought Patriots Raiders at Gillette Stadium, the historic Gillette Stadium, hollow ground Gillette Stadium. I would think the Patriots would come out and get a win. Did not expect them to just put up a measly 13 points against the Raiders.
13 points, man. This has been the story of the Patriots for the past few years. Is offensively they have not had enough firepower. Last year they didn't have enough firepower. You started the season with Kobe Brissett. You knew that he was just going to be a placeholder. You felt that Drake May was ready. Drake May comes in, and he was up and down. I think people, we have an idea that Drake May killed it last year and stuff like we have one last year. So we forget about that. Developing quarterback, that was the thing. He comes into this year, a new head coach, new offensive coordinator. He didn't play well. Drake May had a really bad game. If you ask me, How would I grade Drake May? I give it a D plus. D plus. C minus at worst. He did not have a good game. Very inaccurate, especially to start off the game. We have a comment here on the YouTube. Shout out to our brother, man. Back back at it, Derek. Derek's in here on the YouTube said Drake May has to be better, and the offensive line has to be better. Yeah, I mean those are offensive line we knew about, right? We'll get to the offensive line. We knew that offensive line was going to be an issue going into this year. That was going to be the major factor. But I think a lot of people discounted the fact that Drake May is going to be struggling as well into this offense.
Yeah, like I said, dude's 22 or 23 years old. He's young, second year, whatever the case
You're
may
not
be.
gonna do the young thing,
But I
man.
mean, I'm not even trying to put a big thing on age, but at the end of the day, he's in his second year. And, I agree with you. He has to be better. I mean, at the end of the day, your quarterback has to be better in order for you to win games. And he got a lot of hype out of training camp, had a lot of hype with how he's looked. I think he had a solid training camp. I know preseason games can tell you a little bit, but I think training camp wise, he seemed okay. But you get to this first game, and we're talking about the opening drive of the game. Didn't look comfortable in the pocket, overthrowing the guys. I'm expecting Drake May to come out and play with a lot of confidence. You know, I wouldn't say they put solid, amazing pieces around him, but you add Stephon Diggs, which we'll get to in a little bit. Um, but it's your team, Drake May. Like, there's no ifs, ands, or buts. I know last year you have to sit behind Brissett for a little bit, but you got the full keys to the ship from here on moving forward. And I expected him to come out with a lot of confidence at home, get things going. In that first drive, I was shaking my head. I said, "This is not a guy who looks like he's ready to step into the confidence with the confidence that I'm expecting from him."
No, he looked bad. He looked really bad. Derek also in the comments said his mechanics when throwing were really bad, causing accuracy issues. Mike, I swear I told you during the game. I'm watching him. Why is he throwing off his back foot so much?
They say that he
It,
did.
it, when it was not needed. Yeah, offensive line was a problem. There was times when Drake had plenty of time in the pocket, and he was still his motion was off. It felt really weird, like his timing wasn't there at all. So I agree with Derek. The mechanics really ugly to start and throughout the game. Really, it didn't look good for Drake. So I have concerns. Yes, it is game one. You can have a bad game. We can just chuck it up and throw it away. I do have concerns because this is a little bit of what we were seeing last year with Drake as well. With some of these throws. There were some plays, some throws there that could have been intercepted the way Drake was throwing the football, and he had one interception to start off the second half. So look, it wasn't a great game for the quarterback. Let's talk more about what else we saw with the Patriots offense.
I mean, the line, and obviously their top draft pick, Will Campbell. You're expecting him to come in and know be why they drafted him. They drafted him that high for a reason. And fortunately, maybe again, first game jitters, first time being out there, whatever you want to call it. He had definitely a couple key false starts and penalties that he caused, and that's huge. You can say what you want about Drake May in the offense, but if you're a rookie in a big position like he's in, you're top draft pick, so you obviously getting a lot of exposure from just being that and causing those penalties that he caused wasn't a good look. And we've been on this offensive line for a long time now, and obviously Patriots gonna try to do what they can to reassure that Drake May's gonna have protection. I personally believe while Campbell had a couple of those penalties called against him, Drake May had a lot of times he had a nice clean pocket, and I think a lot of the situation that happened was on him, where the offensive line for the most part was holding up. We've seen some atrocious offensive lines for this Patriots team over the last couple of years. I honestly think today it wasn't as bad as it's been in the past. I actually think they held up for the most part is on Drake May to make the proper decisions and make better passes, which he wasn't doing from start to finish. And aside from the offensive line, if you're looking at this wide receiving group that he has, you can honestly kind of say it's not that bad. The group is not that bad. Hunter Henry's reliable. Stephon Diggs is a veteran. And I honestly think out of the many guys that the team had over the last couple of years, they chose right with kind of trying to move forward to feature Brock Douglas and Boutte. I think those are the two guys you definitely want to rock in terms of who they've had over the last couple of years who they tried to feature. Um, is it the best wide receiving group in the NFL? No, not by a long shot, but at least in terms of what they're trying to build and develop and form with this team over the next year, 2, 3 years, I think they have a solid group, to work with right now.
I think that's where you and I see things differently. Keyshawn Boutte is your best player. Shout out to Keyshawn Boutte. He balled out 6 reception, 100 yards. You love to see, but when Keyshawn is your best target for the game, you have a problem. I'm sorry, you have a problem. Your offense isn't that great. It's just not. Hunter Henry, he's been reliable. Stephon Diggs came up late. We didn't get him involved really early into this game. Want to see more into Stephon Diggs. Obviously, he's coming off of an ACL injury, but this is your big acquisition. You want to make sure that he is featured, if he's going to be your number one. You saw a lot of booty. You saw some Douglas. Douglas had a drop in the game, but he played overall really well. I think when we going back to the offensive line that you were talking about, we talking about the offensive line. I think the real problem with the offensive line was in the run game. The run game, the Patriots weren't able to get anything going in the run game whatsoever. They couldn't get to the second level. Trayvon Henderson, he only had 5 carries. Ramondre had 7 carries. And then Antonio Gibson, we barely saw him with running. Gibson was, if you ask me, Gibson was a better running back than Ramondre last year. And he didn't get really featured because they couldn't get to the second level at all with the running game. On on fourth and shorts, they weren't able to really get there. So the running game, that was an issue. Talking about a team that's all they did in the past couple of years was run the ball. They only were to get 18 carries. 4 of them was from Drake May trying to run out of the pocket. So only 60 yards on the ground is not going to get it done when you're talking about moving the chain with the offense.
Yeah, I mean, Ramondre, I think his time is limited. I think after a while, they're just gonna move on to featuring Henderson, majority he's gonna get the majority of the snaps, get the majority of the attempts. Um, he just seems like the more explosive back, the more elusive back, and that's what the Patriots need. They need somebody who's coming out from the backfield, being able to do his thing in terms of picking yards. It's tough when you look at Ramondre because he's been there for a lot of years now, but unfortunately, they just made a right pick in the draft and got somebody who should take over the reins very soon. I personally didn't want Stevenson on. I mean, sorry, not Stevenson. Ramondre on this team anymore.
Yeah, that's it was
I
a
mean, yeah, that's Stevenson. I'm mixing up Henderson. Sorry. I personally was done with Ramondre. He could have been on the team, and I wouldn't have blinked twice about it. Obviously, in terms of power back, is someone who could hopefully punch in on goal line situations. Maybe that's why Stevenson is around, and they're going to continue to feature him a little bit. But at some point in time, everything needs to go through Henderson. Don't wait on it. Don't go into no development this and that because we already know the deal with running backs. They don't necessarily last too long, and you got to get what you can get out as early as possible. And
you saw the clear burst. You
the
saw
burst
those.
is there for sure.
You saw there's a difference in burst between Stevenson and Henderson. Not saying that Stevenson played a bad game. Like I honestly think that the run game, when you look at it, had a lot to do with the offensive line being not playing well at all and having the Raiders' defensive line, front set, especially the front seven, looked really, really good, and they were able to get to Drake May and cause pressure. Anytime May had pressure, it didn't really go well for the Patriots at all. And then the running backs weren't able to get far. You had a couple trip downs where Henderson was able to make a couple plays, didn't really get to the second part of the field. I think Henderson, if I'm looking correctly right now, he had how many catches? He had 6 receptions. So he tied with the team in leading receptions with 6. So that's what his game is mainly going to be. You're going to use him as a third down back, use him to do the check and such. Andre he doesn't have as great as as Henderson, but you just want more from the running game, especially when Drake May was being as accurate as he was.
So a comment I'm seeing here from our bro Derek is saying that he doesn't believe Henderson can be the bell cow. He doesn't believe Henderson can be a 4 down back. And he's at his best when he's sharing the backfield with somebody else. I didn't really watch him too much in college, but that's what Derek is saying. Obviously, most teams would love to have 2 guys that they can root if every team could have a situation like the Lions
Right.
with, Gibbs and Montgomery, every team would want that, but at the end of the day, that's not possible. Some teams have that opportunity, some teams have a guy where they could just keep handing it off and do his thing, continuously. Uh, you would Patriots, I bet, would love to have, Ramondre and Henderson be that 1-2 punch. I just don't think Ramondre is gonna give you as much as you really want to. It I personally wish they would feature Gibson more, but it's tough. You got 3 running backs. How can you really share the ball between them? They don't really seem like they wanna go the committee route, but at the same time, you gotta go with the hot hand. Obviously, like I've been saying, Henderson has a lot of the hype right now, but it's tough.
He's your best
It's tough.
offensive weapon. I don't,
You don't wanna just keep I don't see him getting 20 carries a
no,
game.
he doesn't need to. He doesn't need to. And when you look at the state of the NFL right now, there's not many backs have that one guy that you get 20 carries, 25 in a situation. Look at Bajan Robinson right now. He still shares carries with Tyler Hill. Obviously he's the premier back on the team, but you just don't see that as often with the team. I think that Henderson, if you give him 60% of the snaps, that's great. You love that. Your offense would definitely explore more within that case. You see it, you mentioned the Lions with Gibbs and Montgomery. If Montgomery were ever to go out, the Lions have full confidence that they can have Gibbs have the majority of the snaps and they'll be okay.
Mhm.
Obviously you want that balance like you mentioned, but I'm not worried about Henderson getting a bigger load on this team. It's just about finding the right balance and getting him more involved. He's gonna be your most explosive player right now on this team.
Yeah, and aside from, Henderson, I think everybody wants to see kinda switching gears back to the wide receiver a little bit. Everybody wants to see Stephon Diggs perform like, you know, he was on the Buffalo Bills. They wanna see that guy. And I think you mentioned this a little bit earlier too, Marv. He wasn't featured early. He definitely was not on the field for a lot of drives. Didn't get a lot of snaps. But I do also feel like some of that is coming from the fact that, this is a guy coming off the ACL injury, didn't play any preseason game. Obviously, he's looked great. All the reports are telling me he's looked great during training camp, and the different videos and whatnot that we've seen. He's looked explosive, looks like he has the speed, but it's week one of real football being played. And I definitely felt like Patriots were trying to ease him in. I think once they got to the third quarter and the second half, they're being down. They said, "Okay, we got to get this guy on the field because he's our best receiver." But I do think as the weeks go on, and probably right into next week, in week 2, he's going to be featured a lot more. I know Ote got a lot of the looks, and I'm happy that Drake May is actually comfortable getting the ball because it can't just be Diggs. As much as we want Diggs to be this great receiver, he is a great receiver. It's great to have your quarterback comfortable with the number 2 or number 3 option so that the ball can somewhat be spread around. You can keep, defenses on their toes a little bit. So I'm happy that he has that connection with Butte and Douglas as well, and Hunter Henry. But once I think Diggs gets, full load of snaps and whatnot, bring a little bit more balance to the offense, that'll be great. But still, at the same time, like we've been saying, like people in the comments are saying, like you said, Drake May needs to be better.
Drake has to be better. And look, you didn't bring Stephon Diggs in here to be um just a side character. You brought him to be the main character, the lead. This is what you paid him for. You paid him for to be the lead. So I'll keep quiet right now for the first
Week
week or
one,
so,
week 1,
week 1 or 2,
week
week
1.
3. I'll keep quiet. But at some point, if you pay this man this money, you want him to be wide receiver one. We gotta start figuring out ways to feature him to be a playmaker. There's no way that you only score 13 points with this team against the Las Vegas Raiders. It's not a good sign at all where this offense is going if you can only put up 13. And it was a struggle. It was a struggle 13
Yeah,
points. It looked just like the years prior that I was saying. So offense not looking the sharpest right now. Let's change gears a little bit, Mike, and let's talk about the defense on this team. You mentioned it earlier to start off the game. Las Vegas just Geno, first of all, Geno balled out. Let's
Sure did.
let's look at Geno's numbers real quick. He went 24 for 30 for 362 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. The highlight of that is he got sacked 4 times. We were able to get to Patriots were able to get to, Geno Smith and made it really hard on him, especially in the first half. After that first touchdown drive that the, Vegas had, where it was obviously blown coverage, Hawkins on the field, and Tucker got that touchdown. Patriots buckled down. They really buckled down, and they started to really get to the quarterback. You can hear the reporters saying that front seven of the Patriots were really being dominant there on both sides. Were running on the run game, they were stopping the run, and they were stopping the pass in the first half. And then things just started to get real shaky for
Yeah, I mean, I really do like the guys up front, led by Williams and Barmore. I love that combination, and I think that's going to make it very difficult on a lot of running backs throughout the course of the season. Um, we already knew what Barmore brought to the table, and we talk about offseason acquisition like Milton Williams, huge. And we saw today, Genty, while he was able to still 19 carries for 38 yards, he was able to get a touchdown, but only 2 yards per carry. Wasn't a great day for him, and part of the guys up front led by Barmore and Williams. But I was excited by that. Uh, Gino looked amazing in a
it.
sense.
Geno balled out.
Gino looked amazing.
Geno balled out.
Guy making play action passes and throws on a run. Gino was finding his guys downfield. Gino looked like a solid veteran quarterback who knew how to control the game. Was it perfect? Not 100%, but he looked light years better than Drake May. And are we saying Geno Smith is a better quarterback than Drake May? Well, if you watch the game today,
It was a clear
oh,
difference.
clear difference. One guy played with a lot more poise and confidence. Another guy, just looked like he's still trying to get a feel for the NFL game and understand what he's doing in the pocket and making the correct passes. But it was I wasn't too surprised to see Geno play like that. Geno's had a pretty solid last couple of years as his career's kind of got a little bit of resurgence, especially coming out of Seattle a few years ago. Geno's been solid for the last couple of years. So what he was doing today didn't surprise me a lot, but again, you're hoping the Patriots defensively would be better. One of the comments that I saw here came from Sam saying that one of the few bright spots on the defense was Landry. And Landry was one of the guys applying a lot of pressure on Geno Smith. You talk about 4 sacks. I believe Landry probably got maybe one of them. If he didn't get a sack, he definitely had one quarterback pressures.
2.5 sacks
There
for
you go.
Landry.
There you go. And it's one thing that we talk about all the time when it comes to Patriots over the last several seasons. I'm talking even I don't even know how dated far back. Patriots have a hard time getting to the quarterback. Patriots have a hard time putting pressure on the quarterback. And I know it's week one, but it was great to see, that pressure was there, not only controlling the run game from the Raiders, but also just getting to hit Geno, putting some pressure on Geno. Geno was being a veteran; he's able to still make some things happen. But just the fact that the Patriots were putting the pressure, was huge to see.
Yeah, Patriots have a hard time containing Brock Bowers and Jacoby Myers, who led their offense on the receiver side. So Brock Bowers had 5 receptions, 103 yards, which could have been probably a lot more, but he ended up going to the tent late in the third quarter, I believe. And then Jacoby Myers, he had 8 receptions, 97. Jacoby's just a solid wide receiver, and he was able to beat the Patriots time and time again, especially in those third down situations. And we've gone this far. We haven't mentioned, Gonzalez, your best defensive player, not being able to play. He's not there, so it forces everyone to move up. I thought that Marcus Jones had a pretty decent game. In this one, Carlton Davis, a lot of mistakes, a lot of mistakes. He looked a little lost out there. Wasn't on the right coverages. Just gambling, and it cost the Patriots. It cost the Patriots. It cost the DBs in total were not great at all.
Yeah, like you said, without Christian Gonzalez out there, forces guys to step up. Not saying that, oh man, if Gonzalez played, he's going to be a huge difference maker and he's going to change the course of the game. But obviously, that's another option here who you trust and believe solid in coverage. If the balls coming his way, you trust and believe he's gonna make the right play. Um, but I think overall secondary was somewhat shaky. Uh, Bowers was cooking until he got hurt. Myers, being good old reliable Myers, like we know he was here for the Patriots for a few years. Um, Myers was doing his thing. Then the guy who stepped up behind Brock Bowers when he went down, I believe his name is Mayer, the tight end that stepped up once Brock Bowers went down. He had a great game. Tucker had that huge touchdown pass to start the game. The secondary, you want them to be better because again, just like we talked about the Patriots wide receivers, and it's not an amazing wide receiver. The Raiders, Brock Bowers and Jacoby Myers, that's their team right there. Those guys are gonna get the majority of the looks. Bowers finished the game with 5 receptions, 103 yards, and that was probably gonna be a lot more if he didn't go down. And Myers, like I said, just being a reliable wide receiver like he is, 8 receptions for 97 yards. Um, but you want your secondary to be better. And if you're getting, in a sense, quote unquote, cooked by the Raiders and their tight ends and their wide receivers, it's going to be a tough road for you down the line. Now, obviously, you need Christian Gonzalez. And I'm really nervous when it comes to Christian Gonzalez because this is a guy who showed up for the first day of training camp, hurt his hamstring, and I don't believe, has put on
MIA.
pads since.
MIA.
He hasn't touched the field since. So it's really concerning because we're talking about training camp that got started in when, July? And we're here on September 7th, first game of the season, week 1, and this guy hasn't been any positive reports that come out about Christian Gonzalez. So that's pretty interesting, and it's also worrisome as well.
It was very worrisome. Um, Looking ahead into week 2, where you have Miami, who just got embarrassed as well, and they still got Tyreek Hill. They still have Jalen Waddle. If you don't have Christian Gonzalez on that team, it's, what do I say, barbecue chicken out there in the secondary. So the Patriots have, a lot of things to clean up. So while we look into week 2 and start closing up here on week 1, any, like, last thoughts or things about this game we haven't mentioned? Like,
Uh, it was a good game just to, for the whole team, especially the coaching staff. I know McDaniels has been here, but it's a new
uh,
team.
focus.
I know Vrabel's been coaching for a while now, but it's new for everybody. It's not preseason anymore. Training camp's done. This is the real deal. It's the real thing. And I think for everybody, first game, get get this 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 BS out the way. Again, don't expect a championship level of football being played by the New England Patriots moving forward, but there's a couple of little mistakes and little things here and there that I think they can just clean up moving forward. Just be a competitive. I expect them to be a competitive football team under Vrabel.
I want everyone to keep the same energy they had with Jerry Mayo. Keep the same energy with Vrabel. Everyone loves Vrabel because, he has a longer
But this is a
resume.
slightly better team than what Mayo had.
Sure,
Slightly,
sure.
slightly.
So raise up the energy.
Mhm.
Everyone loves Vrabel. Everyone's super excited for, Vrabel, and that's great. Has he won a championship before? Has he done anything? No, he hasn't. Vrabel's real claim to fame and why everyone really loves him because he beat the Patriots, and he beat Belichick and had his own moves. That's why everyone reveres Vrabel for what he is and he's such a great player coach. Just keep the same energy, and I'm going to do that. I thought this was a poorly coached game. I thought the Patriots didn't come out ready, especially defensively, to start this game off. And who do I look at? I look at Coach Vrabel for this. I don't think this was a well coached game at all. Things could have been better. Yes, the Patriots fought hard and they on paper are a better team than last year. I don't think the Patriots are ready to win this game. We're not talking about Patriots are facing the Baltimore Ravens or the Kansas City Chiefs. This was the Las Vegas Raiders. Let's keep the same energy here.
Nah, I agree. I think more so defensively, I'm disappointed. Offense, I'm not. You want to see the defense be better for sure. 'Cause for a lot of games last year, the defense got cooked week in and week out. The defense got cooked. They made a couple moves. For Vrabel's first game, I was expecting the defense to be better. No, did they put up 40 points or 38 points? No, they didn't. But it had Geno Smith looking like he put him in the talks for MVP. That's how Geno
Mhm.
Smith was looking. So I expect I expected defensively for Vrabel's first game in the new regime, but I expected Patriots defensively to be better. But, you know, it's only week 1.
But it can spiral real fast. You don't wanna go down 0-2. You have Miami Dolphins next week. You want the Patriots to be ready to play. You expect them to be better. I don't wanna see many games where we're only scoring 13 points.
That's very disappointing.
You have this quarterback here who's supposed to be the gunslinger, who's supposed to be ready for you guys. 13 points is what I'm going when I think about week 1, the thing that's gonna really stick out to me the most is 13 points.
And week 2 is the Miami Dolphins. Is that what you said,
Yep,
right? And is it in Miami?
it's in Miami.
In Miami. So now if you're looking at your upcoming opponents in Miami Dolphins just lost 33-8 to the Indianapolis Colts. 33-8.
Yeah, that's hard. Miami's sorry.
So,
So are we.
and while we're saying Miami sorry, you still mentioned a few names that are major players. Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle. Vacation is fully healthy, ready to go. They have weapons over there. I don't know what happened today against the Colts that they were only able to manage 8 points, but I'm not gonna let that fool me. I'm not gonna let those 8 points that they saw today fool me because they could come here and easily put up points against the New England Patriots with ease if the Patriots, play like they did today against the Raiders. I do expect the Dolphins to score more than 8 points next week, unless they got some real serious, players don't mess with each other, problems over there, locker room issues. It could be very possible because I think Tyreek and Tua have to kind of repair their situation. Tyreek was saying he wants to get out of it, and back in those comments, whatever. That's Miami's real issue. But I do know if they are clicking on all cylinders, which we've kind of seen from the Miami team over the last couple of years, Waddle, Hill, HN, Tua, they'll put up points and possibly more than the 20 points that the Raiders did today.
Yeah, I agree. So a lot of things the Patriots can work on. I think looking forward, we need to hear about Gonzalez. We need to hear about his injury. See what is going on with that. Hopefully, he hasn't hurt much. Like if he's ready, he's repping up or anything like that. So let's get some news on Gonzalez. Drake May. Let's hope that this is one of his worst performances, and this is not what the norm is going to be with him. Otherwise, like I said, everyone right now that's living in New England, look outside. Take a look outside right now, see what there is. A lot of Sundays are gonna look like this if your quarterback doesn't get
I'd be sick. I'd be sick every Sunday if it's trash weather like this outside and I see the Patriots putting up 13 points and letting guys like Smith look like Lamar Jackson.
it. I wouldn't. Let's get into the stars and sorries, Mike. Stars and sorries of this game, man.
Let's definitely get into some stars and stars for sure. I'm really trying to look at who can definitely be a star of the game. And if we're going off a star, it's a name for me personally. It's a name that we mentioned earlier, and that is Landry, the linebacker for the Patriots, who I believe, like Marv said earlier, he was he was able to get 2.5 sacks, I believe,
Yeah, 2.5.
and probably a couple more, QB pressures. Uh, he was somebody who was making it. And it was happy to see that somebody finally stepped up in that role for the Patriots because, like I said, sometimes it's been lacking. Last time Patriots really had a guy who was, consistently harassing quarterbacks and pressure against that. Matthew Judon. It's the last real guy I can think of, from a linebacker standpoint and, edge rusher or whatever he was, really getting to the quarterback and making things happen. But Landry really showed up and showed out today, and it's something that the Patriots are gonna consistently need. Um, you don't want a quarterback. I always say this: as much as there's great quarterbacks in the league and there's sucky quarterbacks in the league, if you give a quarterback enough time in the pocket, probably gonna make something. And we saw that a little bit today with Gino, when the pressure wasn't completely there. But shout out to Landry, being able to get those 2.5 sacks and just putting some pressure on the quarterback. He would be my star.
Word, I love that. It was real great to see Landry out there. That move, that's a big SOB right there, man. So good to have him on our side. When I look at stars, you have Booty who stands out, you have Andy, like you mentioned, but I can't give it to a Patriot. I can't give it to a Patriot. You just lost. Unless you really went crazy, I can't give it to a Patriot. And then I look into the Raiders side, they had some guys that played well, decent, but no one went crazy on us. So I'm gonna pivot a little. You might start to Pete Carroll. Just mentioned today, today's the oldest coach to ever coach NFL, which
Mhm.
is crazy, bro. It's because the man looked good, still looks great, still
Looks the
looks
same,
he looks
yeah, no,
fine. He looks
looks
fine.
great.
73 years old, still coaching, still looks like he has that and clearly got it all together. I think that's a really NFL NFL's been around for a very, very long time. So for you to be the oldest of anything is a huge accomplishment. If they didn't kick Belichick out, he'd probably be closer to
Yeah,
that.
he's right there with
He's closer to that as well. But I'm gonna give it to Pete Carroll, man. Getting his first win with the Las Vegas Raiders. This dude's been in our football lives forever. We've seen him in all different types of stints. So to see him still doing it, he gifted the Patriots a Super Bowl that I'll always be thankful for. So, it gives me pleasure to give Pete Carroll the star of the game.
But when you're good
You're bad.
and when you're bad on Double M, we tell you sorry.
Sorry.
You know, yeah, you lost the whole team and this. Yo, we gave a lot of sorries to the Patriots last. I feel like we used to do a lot of sorries to the Patriots when we've had a lot of shows because they just had a tough last couple of years. But going off of this week one matchup today against the Raiders, I don't know, man. You can go in a lot of different directions. The scheme on defense, something just wasn't right. You had the Raiders looking like they knew how to dissect the Patriots. They knew what they were doing, and I expected Patriots. If again, one thing for sure, I expected defensively the Patriots to be better, and they were not. They did good with the run, like I said. They controlled Genty for the most part. You only had two yards per carry, nothing too crazy in terms of the run game. But if it wasn't for Brock Bowers getting hurt, they probably would have continued to cook the Patriots in the secondary. And I feel like the secondary as a whole. Again, I'll exclude the run defense just a little bit, but still defensively, I personally have to give the secondary and just what Vrabel and the coaching staff did over there. I got to give them a good old sorry.
Sorry.
Just wasn't Raiders really. Oakland Raiders. Gino looking like Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, it comes at no shock who my son is going to be to you. Your quarterback.
Jeez,
Guys, it has to be your
not the
quarterback.
franchise
It
quarterback,
has to be the
Marv.
franchise quarterback. That's even a bigger reason why it needs to be
Gee,
a sorry. Yeah, home. This game was at home in the Patriots laid an
Sacred
egg.
Gillette Stadium.
Laid an egg at home. There's a Tom Brady statue outside that stadium now. You gotta play better. Brady watching over. And after Belichick's comments a couple of days ago, I don't know if he's gonna have that statue next to
Yeah,
Brady
he might have
anymore.
screwed that up.
I don't
He
know.
might have screwed
I
that up.
don't know if Belichick's gonna have that statue anymore.
He might have screwed
Oh,
that
that's but yeah, man, just a sorry performance to week one at home. You have the fan base, not me, but you got the fan base super excited. The New England is up. They love Vrabel. They love Drake May. They love this team and what it can do. And we're talking wild card possibly. You have all of these hopes. And in the first game, like mentioned, the franchise quarterback laid an egg. Derek mentioned in the comments. Mechanics were rushing, overthrowing his receivers, running and throwing at the same time, not realizing that the defenders around him. He had but much over with it. Just could have been a lot more with a performance like that. And I like Drake May. I am a Drake May fan, and I think he will become better. But as of right now, we need him to be that guy, and he's not that guy. So for a performance like that, we gotta give you a big battle.
Sorry.
Sorry.
Damn, Drake May. You can't be getting sorry
Yeah, don't
as
get
the
it.
franchise quarterback.
Not I never
Can't.
did we ever might have made
I don't know if Brady has ever gotten sorry. Brady, let's talk about the GOAT.
maybe he had one sorry in the history double M post. Maybe
It's
one.
possible, but not a lot. Very few. But yeah, Drake May, be better. You gotta be better. You know, you got big shoes to fill. I don't care about Brissett, Cam Newton, and Mac Jones. It's you. Zappy, whoever had a couple changes over the last few years, it's you. You got the big shoes to fill. It's not you just went up, like Mark said. It's you. So hopefully you can rise to this occasion, you know, get this first game out the way, but be better moving forward.
Yeah, man. Ooh,
Week one in the books.
one's done.
Week one in the books, you know, it's gonna be interesting Patriots season. You know, hopes are high, expectations are high, but maybe after you watch this game, you gotta really I know maybe I gotta reel them in a little bit. But still looking forward to seeing how this team hopefully grows and develops over the next 18 weeks. But yeah, we're gonna be holding it down, you know, as much as we can with a post game show, and if we can cover some games, something that we enjoy doing a lot, something that you know, we started doing years ago. But it brings us a lot of joy. But the biggest part of it all is when we get to interact and talk with y'all through the comments. And so please like and share and subscribe to Double M Media because we're nothing without everyone tuning in, interacting in the comments, and having that conversation and back and forth with you. You're a huge part of what we do here. So keep it rocking and share us out for sure.
Absolutely, my guys. To close this out, Patriots fall to the Las Vegas Raiders 20-13, week 2 against the Miami Dolphins. 1 o'clock. There's a lot of 1 o'clock games
And
for the
I like
Patriots.
that. I
A
like
lot
that.
of I'm a red zone guy, so I would prefer some 4 o'clocks, but Patriots suck, so they get the 1 o'clock slot.
With that being said, for my boy Marv right here to my side, and Mike taking it out. Double M always
To
to
the
the
moon.
moon.